Welcome back to our series on Project Nigeria. I have a panel of discussants here. To my right is barrister Ani Oluko. To my left is Mr. Ochoku Achora. Mr. Oluko, I want to start with you. Project Nigeria is about identifying and analyzing and preferring solutions to the problems we have in Nigeria, problems militating against the attainment of a functional Nigeria. Right now, we're talking about the problems. We're not yet talking about the solutions. So, what do you have to say about the problems militating against the attainment of a functional Nigeria?
Well, one of the major problems that is plaguing Nigeria is I'll start with the historical perspective of this, which is the agitation in the Niger Delta. As a result of the agitation in the Niger Delta area of Nigeria, UNPADEC was formed, and subsequently that metamorphosed to Niger Delta Commission. And over the years, these commissions have been supposedly working for the people of the Niger Delta. And all of a sudden, last year, 2 years ago, the federal government deemed it fit to start a new commission, the Northeast Development Commission. Now, the question we ask ourselves is, has UNPADEC and Niger Delta Commission solved the problems of the Niger Delta? Why then, if the answer to that question is no, which I'm sure most of us will agree, that these commissions have not solved the problems in the Niger Delta, why will the government now turn around and form a new commission for the Northeast when they have not perfected the ones that were previously formed, if they are not just trying to find avenues to ingratiate their friends? So these are the major problems that we are looking at. Plus, the Niger Delta militancy issue is still there as we speak today. And of course, the Boko Haram issue is there, and the cattle rearers, herdsmen issue is growing, and the government has not picked on a good solution, a viable solution to solve these problems. Rather than solve the problems, government is creating new commissions and putting ex-generals to head this commission, putting their friends to head this commission, to find means of making themselves rich. So we have to look at the problems and look at solutions that's been profiled to solve the problems.
If I may follow up on what you just said, personally, I would think that the idea of forming these commissions isn't particularly out of place. Now, in forming these commissions, like you mentioned, the NDDC, Niger Delta Developmental Commission, and it hasn't really addressed the problems of the Niger Delta. Now, is it right for us to hold government accountable? Or is it the people running the Niger Delta Development Commission that should be held accountable? Because we all know that they were formed to address the issues of development in Niger Delta, like build roads, equip schools and all that. And they're not doing that. Even when they do that, they inflate the cost of, something that can be done with like 20 million naira, they inflate it. We all know what goes on over there. Because for me, government cannot be everywhere. So that issue of Nigerians stepping up, probably to me, should be called in here. So what do you think about that?
Well, the point is that yes, the individual Nigerians will have their own blames, but if the head is rotten, it bleeds down to the people they appoint. So if someone at the head if he appoints the right people to the position, they will do the right thing. But when you just appoint people based on political patronage or based on other factors other than competency, then you have to blame the appointee rather than the appointed.
Another thing I see there is a checks and balance system. Because if we actually had a good check and balance system, no matter who is appointed there, the security agencies that should form part of the checks and balances should be able to act. So whoever is appointed there should be held accountable one way or the other.
That brings us, that what you just said now brings us to the issue of law enforcement. Law enforcement, that the whole area of law enforcement is zero when it comes to people in powerful positions or people with financial wherewithal. They are, in the Nigerian context, they are difficult to be brought to book.
Why do you think that is the case?
Because of the corruption in the system, clearly. Because of the corruption in the system. And one thing I want to talk about too is the issue, this growing trend in the political class, in the Nigerian political class, of decentralizing the police force. Is it really a good thing? I don't know. It's going to be part of what we'll be discussing. If this is decentralization of the police force, is it good? Or is it good to leave it where it is? Is that really our problem? Is that the problem of the Nigerian police force?
Okay, let's leave that for now. Mr. Tora, you've heard what Mr. Oluku talked about. In your view, what is your contribution towards the problems militating against the attainment of a functional Nigeria?
Thank you so much for having me here. I think we can talk on various problems that is plaguing the country, Nigeria. But the root cause from what I see is very poor value system within the citizenry of the country.
What do you mean by value system?
Ranging from all parastatals of the in the country, like you made mention of the Nigerian police force. The Nigerian police as a unit, it's not any different from the entire country. Any unit you pick within the country, you'll find out that there is this lack of trust, of transparency, and self value of what they do. Whether you leave it as a federal unit as it is now, or you break it into different state police, it will not change the fabric of what the Nigerian value system is. So we have a system where there is almost the lack of interest in people having the drive to work and have that gratification for earning money. We have a syndrome where people want to get rich overnight. Among the Nigerian communities, not just in Nigeria, across the world, there's this belief of get rich syndrome, where a young, unskilled, unemployed man would be praying to get rich overnight. But the most sad thing of it all is not just the young man praying for that, is if that kind of ungodly prayer get answered by whatever means, in most cases by nefarious or fraudulent means, the society at large, the parents, even the religious groups, celebrate such breakthrough. Whereas you would imagine that in a country that have value system, the source of such wealth will be questioned. So it ranges right from the police to the educational sectors, to the judicial sector, to the health sector, where you see a trained medical doctor whose oath of profession is to protect life, doesn't see his patient as a human. He sees his patient as a customer who, if you cannot pay him money outside the stipulated fees of the health system, is not prepared to treat you. We have doctors who would insist on you seeing them privately before they see you in government hospitals. So our problem is not just the infrastructure, it's not just the setting up of corporations or entities like the Niger Data Commissions, it's our poor value systems. So if a commission is set up to address a problem in any part of the country, if the people have a high ethics and high expectation of their system, they should ask the persons in these positions to account for their actions. It is not just the function of the government. The government have a major role to play in it in any way. They have the role to set the standard. And we had a time in the past where the government set up National Orientation Agency to kind of change orientation of the citizenry to what's happening in the country. There should be accountability right from the top, like you said, and at the non-governmental level, at religious groups. So it's a problem that has gone right through the fabrics of our system.
I would think that the value system that you're talking about entails the family value system, religious value system,
Very true.
community value system, because if we maintain good family value system, it should transit into the community, or vice versa.
I would think actually the other way around.
Okay, from the
The
community.
value system
it
actually
can-
starts from the family units.
Yes.
There was a time in Nigeria in the late 70s, early 80s. There was this saying by most parents: "Do not spoil my family name." Parents would normally say to their young men and women, "Don't spoil our family name." They had value, and they had pride in their family names. You could see civil servants would insist that their children would go to school and seek gainful employment in various industries. But that mentality has changed now to get-rich syndrome, where parents are now actually saying to the young ones, "Get us out of the poverty by any means possible." And so the value system starts from the family unit, and it grows, and the educational system is another aspect where we can kind of improve the value system of the country. The young youth need to have the belief that if they were to work hard, they can earn a decent living, and have that expectation of the community, the family unit, and at the governmental level to hold people accountable for the actions. It's not just celebrating somebody who has never had a gainful employment, no skill, becoming millionaire overnight, and is donating money to a religious group and is being applauded.
And his community.
We can imagine a situation where if churches and other religious groups were to question donors or their source of income for donations they make, that reduce pressure of people having to steal money and donate to religious and non-governmental agencies.
Mr. Luku, you heard what Mr. Ochora talked about. You had mentioned something about the law enforcement, but for now, we want to take a break, and we'll be back and we'll continue with where we left it.
All right.
Thank you.